Welcome to Mission Imperfect, the podcast about finding your own path, your own way, and embracing the imperfection of the journey.
We're your hosts, life coaches, former HR professionals, and mums, Kirsty and Kathryn.
We love to discuss the topics that come up time and time again for our coaching clients and which affect us all, from things like acceptance and boundaries to values and well-being and everything in between.
Each episode ends with a question for you and us to reflect on. Your mission, should you choose to accept it, is to grab a cuppa and a biscuit and join us in getting lost in finding ourselves.
Hello and welcome to this week's episode of Mission Imperfect. And today we are talking about letting go. I'm actually glad you didn't say let it go, Kirsty, because otherwise I'd have been so tempted to burst into something. No, I wouldn't really. I would never do that to everybody. It's hard not to hear let it go without thinking of Frozen, though, isn't it?
It is
But
very
we've
hard
avoided
not
it.
to get that earworm. Yes, I
Yes.
have had that earworm as I've been thinking about this, and now it's back. So thank you for that.
Sorry. I did realise I should have gone down that avenue. No, let's talk about letting go, which I think is a great idea for an episode.
Okay, I mean, letting go. Well, question: what does it mean, and how do we do it? I think is what we're looking to address in this episode. And to let go is fairly obviously to stop holding on to something, and that sounds very simple, simplistic, perhaps, and obvious. And in physical terms, obviously, it is. You are holding on to something. You stop holding on to something. Very easy. But how does it apply when we talk about dealing with difficult stuff in life?
That's a really good point because often what we're holding on to is not, we're not talking about the tangible stuff. We're not talking about the dog lead, which we actually should hold on to be fair.
Yeah, ideally,
We're,
yes.
we're talking about all the tricky stuff, aren't we? The intangible stuff that's not physically in your grasp, but it's kind of within your mental grasp instead.
Yes, I think in Frozen they were talking about it as well. And it's a phrase you hear quite often, isn't it? Let it go, just let it go. And it makes it sound very easy, but is it?
Mm.
Um, but then let's turn it on its head a bit. So let's start with, what does holding on to the difficult stuff look like? Because if we want to be able to let go, then we need to understand how we're holding on. So when we talk about holding on to difficult stuff, we mean things like uncomfortable thoughts and feelings, or probably just thoughts and feelings we don't want, painful memories, regrets, mistakes, missed opportunities, bad decisions, all
Yeah,
this sort of thing that just gets into our head and stays there.
yeah, absolutely. All those spur of the moment things that we said or we did, and then immediately thought, oh no, wish we hadn't done that.
All the times we made a complete idiot of ourselves, that sort of thing.
Mm.
Um, and so when we're holding on to the difficult stuff like that, what we're doing is we're bringing it into our conscious awareness too often, and we're letting it stay there for far too long. It looks like holding grudges, for instance, blaming, judging, overanalyzing, ruminating, and any or all of that might be aimed at other people, or it might be aimed at yourself, or both.
Yeah,
It can be a confusing mixture, but it all gets into your head, doesn't it? All these things that we don't necessarily want there, but keep coming back and squatting with us. So why do we do it is a fairly obvious question, because it's not fun. At least I certainly
no.
don't find it fun. Um, and I think that probably, I mean, I'm not an expert on, obviously, on neuroscience or psychology or anything, but in my understanding, one of the main reasons that we keep hold of these difficult things is that memories of pain are a critical part of learning to keep ourselves safe. Remembering that it hurt to touch the hot stove is what stops you doing it again. It's all part of the learning process. Remembering that the berries from that bush gave you a rather nasty stomach upset stopped our ancestors going back and eating the berries from that bush again. The
Yeah,
memories serve a purpose in helping to keep us safe and out of danger going forward. Um, I think sometimes when we hold on to these things, it helps kind of reinforce our sense of our own identity, of who we see ourselves as being. If you've got this, if you've been kind of programmed into this sense of feeling inadequate or victimized or unlucky or somehow bad, holding on to these memories reinforces that, because we look for things that prove us right, don't we?
Yeah, absolutely. And it's also a way of punishing
Oh,
yourself in a way,
yes.
isn't it?
Yeah.
It's possibly a little bit of martyrdom in there that you hold on to those mistakes to keep reminding yourself of them. And
Mm.
it is hard because, like you said, there are things that we don't want to forget because we don't want to repeat them, like eating the
Yes.
poisonous berries. Yeah, absolutely important to remember that. But it becomes much more than that, doesn't it?
Mm.
It's like those repercussions that are not life threatening. They were perhaps embarrassing or, caused us a bit of shame or upset. We keep reliving those as well. And it's that we're adding
Yeah.
on to that extra load that we are carrying. And like you said, we it becomes sort of self-fulfilling, doesn't it? It's like a loop. And you keep
Mm.
feeding that loop with more material to reinforce that identity of being, yeah, perhaps unlucky or somehow bad, or that you punishing yourself for it. And I think that's a really sticky loop to get stuck into.
It is, isn't it? Very much a vicious circle that is hard to break out of. I mean, this isn't said in a judgmental way at all. I think there are very few people who, if they're honest, haven't done this and
Mm.
don't get caught up in it. And we all know it's easy to see what we should be doing, just saying, no, I'm just letting go. But to actually make it happen,
Yes,
trickier,
a lot
right?
harder. Yeah.
And I think part of that is if we can just let go of that previous pain, it's almost like it didn't matter, isn't it? And it can be that we feel that we're letting other people off the hook. If other people have caused us pain and distress and hurt in the past, and we just let it go, are we saying that somehow it didn't matter, that what they did
Yeah.
was okay? Where it was when we're holding on to it and still in that pain and anger and distress, it's still real, it still matters, and they are still to blame, or we are still to blame, depending on where you're aiming those feelings.
Yeah, absolutely. Because it could be aimed at ourselves as well. But yes, you're right. I think it add extra sort of gravitas to it. Like this is how serious it was because this is how long
Yeah.
ago it was, but yet I'm still holding on to it,
Yeah.
not letting it go. But actually, what is it doing for you? We've spoken about this question quite a lot, haven't we? About what is it doing for us? And I wonder if it's gone past that point of being a helpful reminder, don't eat the berries, of being just, I'm going to just keep on holding on to perhaps
I
that
hate all berries.
bitterness.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm just like, hate and bitterness and really
Mm.
unhelpful feelings that I don't necessarily want to keep holding of all the time. Yeah.
Yeah, I think you're quite right there. I think it can, I mean, hate and bitterness, quite sort of strong, angry sounding words. It can just be sadness and that sense of inadequacy, of not having control I think that feeling of being a victim, that life is happening to you, that other people are doing things and you don't get to control it. All of that can be fed into by this holding on to the difficult stuff from our past. But when it comes down to it, letting go of all that shit doesn't actually change the reality of it. I mean, if you imagine you're holding something really tightly in one hand, so if you hold out that hand, palm facing up, with the fist clenched around what you're holding, if you then unclench the fingers until your hand is flat, whatever you are holding is still there on the palm of your hand. Nothing has changed about it. All that's changed is the relationship between you and how you were holding on to it. It's still there. It's still the same. It was still real and valid. It hurt. And it was okay that you were hurt by it. Other people did bad things. None of that has changed. Just your relationship to it can change. So I think that's a really important point to make. The letting go of difficult stuff doesn't invalidate any pain that you've felt or that you've been caused. It doesn't make things right. It just might reduce the suffering that you're experiencing and allow you to start moving forward.
Yeah. I think it's about current suffering, isn't it? From
Yeah,
perhaps past pain, because you're not reliving it at this moment, but you're holding on to current suffering from it potentially by holding on so tightly to it.
yeah, yes, and it keeps it with you and it keeps it constantly there. You're
Yeah.
holding on to it. But as having established that, how do you go about letting go? And I personally believe that there are two really fundamental requirements to being able to let go. Firstly, you have to want to let go. And secondly, you have to believe that it's possible. And it might
Yeah.
sound a bit obvious, a bit trite. I mean, who doesn't want to let go? Who doesn't want to be without all this stuff in their heads, making them miserable? But I think sometimes all that pain and anger actually becomes a fundamental part of our sense of who we are. And we don't know who we are if we don't have that.
Yeah.
We don't know how to be. Um, and if you don't believe that it's actually possible to let go, if you're telling yourself things like, it's just the way I am, I can't help it, then your subconscious is just going to keep looking for ways to prove you right. And how do you go about achieving something that you don't think is possible? You know, it's not going to happen, is it?
No, no. And I think you're absolutely right. Both of these things are necessary, as they probably are for most things, if we're being really honest. We do want, if we don't genuinely want something, are we really going to put the effort into it? Probably not. And if we don't believe it's possible, we're already on a bit of a
Yeah.
hiding to nothing because it might be half-hearted, and we'll look to prove that it wasn't rather than that it was possible. So yeah, absolutely true for this, as many other things.
Well, I like that. Maybe we've just found a very generic couple of rules for life there.
Yes, yeah, I think so. Oh, that could be a good episode. Rules for life. I like
Oh,
it.
oh, but more like guidelines. I always like that in Pirates
Yes.
of the
Yeah.
Caribbean.
Actually, yeah, we don't like rules, do we? No, we'll
Yeah,
go.
not so much rules, it's guidelines. Yeah. Um, you know what? Those two things, I think sometimes that can actually be enough in the moment. That can be enough to help you let go. And a few years ago on Insight Timer, I came across a poem by, I'm not sure if I'm saying the name right, Safire Rose, called She Let Go, and it was read beautifully by a guy called John Siddique, or possibly Siddique. I apologize for mispronunciation. And that little poem, it's only a couple of minutes long, but it opened my eyes to the possibility of simply allowing yourself to let go, of simply wanting it, of believing it could happen and letting it happen. And I don't think it can be explained in rational terms, but I come back to this poem again and again when I realize I am holding on to things, and it always helps me to let go. Maybe not permanently. It's not like I've let go and it's gone and it's never coming back. I
Yeah.
guess it's that metaphor of the clenched hand opening up so it's sitting on your palm. Especially if you've been holding on to something for a long time, muscle memory will have you clenching back again at some point, probably. But the more you get used to letting go, the easier it's going to be, and the less you're going to be holding on again.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I highly recommend a read. It is only a couple of minutes, and we'll make sure we put a link to it. I tell you what I found with that poem. It's quite mesmerizing, and it's just,
Mm.
it's that kind of reinforcing, because then the number of times in it, it just says something like, "She just let go." It's up. She didn't do this. She didn't do that. There's no
Yeah.
fanfare. None of this. None of claiming this or being rewarded with that. It was just every so often it just says she just let go, and you just get taken in. Oh, I just let go. It becomes, yeah. I find it quite mesmerizing, and it feels like there is no
Mm.
other alternative but to let go. If you know what I mean. When you're reading it, like I
Yeah.
said, it may not be fail safe forevermore type thing. But in the moment, absolutely, it feels quite, yeah, like that is the only option available to you.
Yeah, why not do it? Yeah, you
Mm,
almost can't help but do it.
not do it. Exactly.
And there's a beautiful line in it where I think is apologies if I misquote, but it's in the space of letting go, she lets it all be. I found that very soothing, comforting.
Yeah.
But anyway, yeah, we will link to it because it is well worth a listen or a read. So, but what else can we do to help ourselves let go beyond that? Um, so we always come back to conscious awareness, to reflection, or whatever, don't we? So noticing and accepting the difficult thoughts, that can make a difference because just saying to yourself, I notice I'm thinking about X or feeling like Y, and that's okay because when you say that to yourself, that immediately puts distance between you and the thought or the feeling. It increases that sense that it's happening to you, but it's separate from you. You don't have to be in it, part of it forever. It's not part of you. It's just happening to you. It's on its way through. Let it go, to coin a phrase. And also acknowledging whatever part of you is feeling vulnerable and scared of more pain. Because we've said a lot of this is about the avoidance of pain and danger, keeping ourselves safe. So when you're in that sort of headspace, the chances are that the part of you that is vulnerable and scared, many might call it the inner child, whatever phrase you have for it, whatever awareness you have of it, what does that part of you actually need from you? What does it need to hear? I mean, maybe it needs you to say, thank you for warning me. I know how hurt you've been, but I've got you and you're okay. Maybe it's visualizing giving your inner child a hug. Whatever it is that makes that part of you feel better, more secure, is going to reduce that need for a mechanism to keep you safe. And when we feel safe, we don't look for mechanisms to keep safe. And on the other hand, if it's part of you that is judging and criticizing you, if this is all around beating yourself up, then what is it you want to say to that critic, that inner judge? I mean, maybe it's something like, you know what, you're right. I behaved stupidly and badly back then, and people got hurt. But I've learned from it, and I trust myself to do better now.
Yeah. Do you know,
What,
you
what,
just hearing you say this just reminded me, I was listening to podcasts the other day about it was someone who had a real fall from grace.
mm,
If I remember it exactly, I'll put a link to it in the show notes. But it was
yeah,
really quite interesting. It was someone who's quite a prominent figure. It was in America and had a real sort of fall from grace. He'd had an affair, and it came out very publicly. He was I think he was a church leader, and but the story really was about his sort of road to, I guess, forgiveness.
mm,
A lot of himself. I mean, he did have a lot of a bad reaction from a lot of the public as well. But yeah, it just really rang a bell then about, you know, acknowledging perhaps you've done something that you wish that you hadn't, but you can't go back and change it. You can only try and move forward from it. And a lot of that was, it was about this kind of like the consumption of being so preoccupied with, this is what I've done, this is how many people I've hurt and let down, and so on
yeah.
and so forth. But you can't change that. He could only try and change moving forward. And I thought it was a really interesting episode. So I'll
Mm,
put a link. It just literally popped into my head as
yeah,
you were
do.
talking, and I thought it might be a nice complimentary listen.
Oh, yeah, that'd be interesting. Thank you. Yeah, I mean, it's so common to just keep beating. So when you feel bad about something, you keep beating yourself up because you want to be better and you wish you hadn't done bad things. But it doesn't change anything, does it? All that beating yourself
No.
up. Okay, now here's possibly a statement of the obvious, but avoid doing what draws you into all this rumination and holding on to stuff. Because sometimes we're our own worst enemies, right? I mean, who hasn't been through some kind of romantic breakup and found themselves listening to the music that reminds themselves of when things were good and their ex? You know, you deliberately do things that allow yourself to go back to that sadness. Rereading all the messages that were exchanged during an argument or whatever. And we all do it. in some way, or we have all done it at some time, just stop it. Just
Yes,
don't.
you're so right. And I totally agree with this one because the funny thing is, I reread something just to remind myself I was right to be indignant. Just what am I doing? This really isn't helpful. I need to move forward now.
Yeah, it's we I think we do almost without thinking, don't we? But when you stop and realize, how is this helping? Maybe that's an opportunity to just not let yourself get drawn into it and sort of kickstart that vicious circle again. Likewise, consciously choosing to think about or do something else, it sounds blindingly obvious and very simplistic, right? And the chances are, let's be honest, it probably won't work for long at first. Um, but if you keep coming back to it, if you keep doing it, it's going to help. But it does take time and repetition to break one pattern of thinking and replace it with another. There isn't a magic wand. So that, you start having all those thoughts come into your head about that, when you made such an idiot of yourself and you wish you hadn't and you wish you'd done something. You know what? I think I'm going to go and find that book I meant to read now. And maybe 5 minutes later, you're back into, oh, I can't believe I made such a twat of myself. And again, okay, I'm just going to go back a page because I stopped paying attention to the book when I was doing that, and
Yes.
I'm going to read it. It will take effort, but it will make a difference if you're willing to
Yeah.
persist. And alongside things that distract you, exercise is often a good one. I find exercise a good thing because, I'm very swiftly fearing for my life, and it seems much more important than whatever was
Yes.
going around my head.
Breathing.
Yeah,
Breathing becomes a
exactly. Yes.
priority, doesn't it?
Yeah, or doing something creative. That's often a really good way to get out of your head and get into something else. And for many people, meditation helps. With the right kind of music, the feel-good music, the music that
Mm,
energizes you. You'll know what it is for you, and it will make a difference. Even if you do keep sort of popping back to the other stuff, keep taking yourself out of it again, then it will get easier, I promise.
yeah.
It's just that sense of when you've held on to something for a long time, your muscles have seized up around it. It's hard to open them to start with. It's hard to keep them open. But the more you do it, the easier it will get.
Yeah, definitely. Right. Let's share some quotes on letting go. We haven't put a quote from the song in. We've got some other ones instead. Um, you've got a great one in there, Kirsty, but I have no idea how to pronounce the person who said it. So I'm gonna I'm gonna take one that I found, which I really like, which was E.M. Forster, and it's we must be willing to let go of the life we have planned so as to have the life that is waiting for us.
I love that. That's that's just perfect. That what we think will make us happy, what we think we want, how we thought things should be, is not necessarily the right answer. Okay, so I think this is the quote you're referring to. Some of us think holding on makes us strong, but sometimes it is letting go. And that's Herman Hesse. Don't know, for a
Wasn't that
minute I
one?
thought that it wasn't that one. Okay. Oh, that one. No. Oh, I see the one you mean. So we
I
have
thought, oh,
these
that was
written
brave
down.
putting that in, unless you've looked up how to say their name.
Right. Shall I go for it?
Go on, go for it.
People have a hard time letting go of their suffering. Out of a fear of the unknown, they prefer suffering that is familiar. Here we go. Thich Nhat Hanh, ThichNhatHanh. I apologize for mutilating the
I
pronunciation.
know I thought she's ambitious putting that one in, but actually it was a really good quote, wasn't it? About
Yes.
suffering what we know rather than letting go. It just feels
We
when
talked
when you
about this in
realize that's
our
what you're doing.
comfort zones
Yeah.
episode, didn't we?
Mm.
So, shall we go with a question?
Yes.
What are you holding on to that no longer serves you? For me, I realize it is that the pain, rejection, and victimhood associated with my teenage son choosing to live with his father a good few years ago now. And I think that the bit of the question about no longer serving you is an important part as well, because my reaction to that did serve me in the past, because it's what triggered me into an interest in all things mindset related. and has kind of put me on the path I'm on now. So it did serve me in a way. But now it doesn't really. Got to be honest, it now what it does is it mostly keeps me vulnerable, resentful, and stuck. Um, None of which are good things to be. And I do think I've made a lot of progress. And I'd say that my hand is probably sort of cupped around it rather than clenched. But I am really looking forward to that point when not only is my hand fully open, but I'm going to turn it over and watch it all just drop away.
Oh, that's really
How
beautifully
about
put.
you, Kathryn? What are
Yeah.
you holding to?
Oh gosh, I could have. I wonder if I could have put a few things down here, but the thing that stuck out for me was conforming to norms that look good on the outside, but are a bad
Ooh,
fit on the inside. That's what came up for me, and I think I've definitely
yeah.
got better. And I'd say it's not too late to change if someone's listening to this and saying, "Oh, that's all well and good, but it's too late." So please don't think that. Yes, sometimes I wish I'd thought of this sooner. I wish that was a message I'd said to younger me, but that just isn't helpful. I really admire people who don't give two hoots and they just forge their own path straight from the off. And they just go for it. And it's perhaps regardless of how they did at school, regardless of what others said, regardless of expectations and where they thought they might be heading. And I think I gave that too much sway.
Mm,
And I am letting go of that slowly. I think we can
mm,
acknowledge it. This stuff isn't easy.
no.
As I heard someone say, and it's very true, there's a difference between simple and easy. It sounds very simple. A lot of the things we're talking about these are some tips you might want to try, and you think, well, that's obvious, duh. But the difference between simple and easy, if it was easy, there'd be none of us would be grappling with any of this stuff, would we? So yeah, I think
Yeah, that
that's just
I
one of the examples that came up for me, and I imagine that's probably not going to be too different for a lot of people. They'll probably resonate with that as an example.
I was just going to say that I think that's very relatable. Very, and yeah, it's but letting go of it over time is never too late, is it?
No, definitely not.
And we can also let go of the belief that we should have let go before.
Yes. Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
And but I would say, just to finish on a slightly lighter note, the one thing not to let go of is a biscuit.
When that goes, it goes in my mouth. Does that count?
No, I think that's the ultimate holding on.
Yep,
To
yeah,
actually
absolutely. Yeah. Consuming.
internalize the biscuit. Yeah.
Yes. Internalizing and consuming. Yeah, absolutely. Yes. We are at one with the biscuit.
Hey, we hope you have enjoyed all this talk of letting go and how to do it, and that it proves useful to you. But good luck in holding on to the biscuits.
Yes. We'll see you soon for another episode.
Thank you for listening to this week's episode of Mission Imperfect.
Please visit the show notes for details on how to contact us and for any resources we may have on the topic discussed.
Until next time, keep being imperfectly you. No one does it better.